Today I'm going to show you how to make a 12-section mandala, which if you're making this at home, you could just use for, a cool art project or a cool design. In my class, we're going to be making these mandalas and then turning them into color wheels. So it's going to be a 12-section mandala for the 12 colors in a color wheel, 3 primary, 3 secondary, and 6 tertiary. So I'm going to show you how to do the drawing for the mandala today. So all you need is a circle, so just a regular piece of paper cut into a circle, and a pencil, and a window, and it's going to be pretty easy. So the first thing we need to do is we need to divide our circle into 12 sections. So first, we're just going to take it and fold it in half, and it's really important when you're doing this to make sure that the sections are as close to perfectly even as possible. If they're not, it can mess up your design. And you open it up, and so now you have your circle divided in half, and I take my pencil and draw along that halfway line just to make it a little bit easier. Then you're going to take it and you're going to fold it in half again. And to make sure that your line cuts it so that these two sections both get cut evenly, you want to lay this line on top of itself. So you're going to make this point meet this point. So you're kind of laying this line over on itself. So you line it up, fold it again, and when you open it back up, now you should have 4 even sections. Your circle should be divided into fourths. Now we're going to need to take each of these 4 sections and divide each one into 3 little sections. So you'll have 3, 6, 9, 12 total sections, which is kind of tricky. So I'm going to show you the easiest way to do that. The easiest way to do that is to fold your circle back up along those 2 folds that we made. So now you're only looking at 1/4 of your circle, and you're going to make 2 folds. And you want to do those folds to turn this into thirds. So they need to be as close to even as possible. So I'm going to take this and fold one side over. And before I set it down, I'm just going to look at it and make sure that this section and this section look to be the same size. And if they don't look like they're the same size, I'm going to adjust it until I think they're as close to the same size as possible. And that looks like they're both pretty much the same size. Then I'm going to open it back up. I'm going to take this side and fold this edge over to where my fold is. And remember, all of your folds need to go to that central point. I open it back up, and now I should have 3 sections in this 4th of my circle. So I open my circle all the way back up. It should make 12 sections total going around my circle. You can trace each one if you want. You don't have to. It's up to you. I am going to trace one right here so I can just see one of my 12 sections to draw my design. You can also, now that it's open, kind of take it and refold each of those new folds a little bit sharper so that it just, goes to the middle a little bit better. Actually, I do think I will trace all of them just so it's easier for you guys to see how this looks in the video. So again, refolding these sections with the circle open isn't a necessary step. If you have your 12 even sections, you're good. I just like to do this to kind of make sharper folds and to really make sure that each section is going through, or each line is going through the center. That's really important for this mandala to work properly, or as close to the center as possible. I understand that none of us are perfect. It might not match perfectly, but you want to try to get it pretty close. So again, like I said, I'm just folding over the folds I made when it was all folded up. and then I'm drawing all of them. So you can kind of see all the sections we have. Remember, each time you fold over, all of these lines should meet their opposite on the other side. Well, their mirror on the other side. So if they're not meeting, then that means some fold somewhere is off, and you might want to erase some lines, open it up, and kind of fix it up. All right, so as you can see now, I have 12 even sections. And the next step is I'm just going to take one of those sections, and it doesn't matter which one because they should all be the same. I'm just going to do this one. And we're going to draw a nice, simple little design in it. It doesn't have to be super complicated. It shouldn't really be super complicated. But you want your design to connect to the edges in some way. So I'm just going to do... All right, so here's my design. It's really simple. I just have a couple of curved lines, a few straight lines. All of my lines connect to the edges. You don't have to have all of your lines connect to the edges. If you want to have some kind of shape that floats in the middle of your mandala somewhere, that's fine. That will totally work too. But you should have at least a couple lines connect to the edges because it'll make the all over pattern look more interesting. Now again, you could be a little more thoughtful with this pattern because remember it's going to flip and rotate all the way around your circle. But for the sake of this project with my 5th grade students, because we're going to be using this for our color wheels, I kind of just went with a big, simple design. Okay, and this design does not need to be symmetrical. The rotation and the repetition of the design is what's going to create the symmetry. So now, if your design's really light, you want to trace over it a couple times with your pencil to make it darker, or you can trace it with a Sharpie. But we're going to go ahead and go to the window and replicate this design. So let's go on over to our window. So now that we're at the window over here, and you can see this is a window with light coming through it, because we're going to be folding this paper and we want the light to show through both layers of the paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to fold it along one of the lines that's right next to my design. So you can see that it's folded in half with the design on the edge of that half. And I'm going to flip it over so that my design is touching the window. And if you push nice and hard on it, you can see the design kind of showing through the window. If you can't see it showing through, then that means you need to go back to this side where you've already drawn it and either go over your design again with your pencil to make it really nice and dark, or you could go over all of those lines with your Sharpie to make them darker. But you should be able to see when you push down on your paper your design showing through those 2 layers. So you're just going to trace it as neatly as you can onto this new section of your paper. So this is a step where you really want to go slow, and you're going to have to kind of continue to move your paper and turn it so you can really see those lines. So now, when I open it up, you can see that I've repeated that design on this side. Now, obviously, this one's drawn a little neater. I might want to close it back up if I see any areas that aren't very neat and kind of make sure that I've traced them correctly. But you can see how it repeats my design, which is exactly what you want. So now, you're going to take this and you're going to fold along the line on the other side, the side of your new design. And now when you fold it, you have these 2 designs you can put up against the window. And now they should show through 2 sections that you're going to trace. And again, if they don't show through those 2 layers of paper, then you really need to go over those lines again and make them nice and dark, especially if you're working with a thicker paper. My students will be working with a pretty thick paper since we're going to be painting these. So it's really important to do your design nice and dark on thick paper, or with a Sharpie, obviously. A thinner paper, you don't have to do your design as dark because it'll be easier for the light to show through. So it just kind of depends on what you're doing. So anyway, I've got my design on 2 spots. I'm going to push those 2 spots up against the window, and I can see my design showing through 2 new areas. So now I'm going to trace these 2 new areas and just kind of repeat these steps all the way around my paper. Ta-da! Ta-da! Thanks for watching.